Hello and welcome back to Tuesday at Dobbs's, and welcome to Sri Lanka. I know it's not the most obviously Sri Lanka view at the moment, but it's been 35 degrees today. It's so sweltering it would be impossible for me to do this on the balcony. I've also just had a coconut latte. I've been out in the local town here in the south of Sri Lanka, and I've got a very, very bad feeling that I may be onto the start of some kind of stomach bug / food poisoning. So I really hope that isn't the case. What I have to do is make sure I start the podcast now in case I start deteriorating. So I will start this week with Davide from Scotland. Possibly not a natural. Dear Freddie, I'm originally from Naples, Italy, but I moved to Scotland 6 years ago looking for a better life. 32 years at the ripe age of 4, or I'm 32 years old now, and at the ripe age of 4, I saw an old TV show called Renegade, starring Lorenzo Lamas. I had recently lost my mum, and watching this ass-kicking, Harley-riding badass made me fall in love with motorcycles and martial arts, and gave me hope I could one day be as cool. Fate, however, did not want me on a bike, as through all of my life I could never afford one. That was until 2 years ago when, after, get ready for this, 6 total attempts at a CBT. That's the first level of trying to pass your motorbike test in the UK. So 6 total attempts at CBT, brackets, failed 4 times on the pad and once on the road, plus a final try. After all of that, I bought a wee Keyway 125 and started the journey. After 2 years, I now have my Mod 1. That is the penultimate bit of test you need to pass. So I've got my Mod 1 booked for the end of the month, and I'm starting to look for my first bike. My dream bike is a 90s Harley Davidson Softail, but my first big bike budget caps at £3,500. I'd love to get yours and other people's opinions in the following rooster of bikes that I found within my budget. Number 1, Harley Davidson Sportster, either the 883 or the 1200. I'm going to save this because I found one till the end. That's the first one. The second one is, of course, it has to be in there, the Honda Shadow. That, you can get a lovely 2003 one for £3,450, listed a month ago on Facebook Marketplace. Next, Kawasaki VN800, £2,900. Funnily enough, that's listed just 3 days ago in Ipswich. That is a lovely looking motorbike. Stunning, £2,900. That genuinely does, to be fair, look every bit as good as a Harley Davidson. That's exceptionally nice. That's the pick looks-wise so far. Then we've got the Yamaha Dragster. And again, a lovely looking V-twin bike, 650 engine, 2004 model. These are under £3,000, £2,995. And finally, a bike that I have never come across before. The Suzuki VL800 Volusia, 2002 model. Again, bang on exactly the same, coincidentally, £2,995. Continuing with Davide, so they're the options, okay? For reference, I'm about 5'8" tall and a 200-pound powerlifter, so weight is not a problem. I wanted this to hopefully motivate other non-naturally gifted riders to never give up on anything. Davide, the Scottish Neapolitan. Davide, I love it, that's brilliant. That's also hugely inspiring because not everyone has to be a complete natural at biking to be able to like biking and also to be able to turn into a good biker. We all progress at different levels, so that is a genuinely inspiring story. With regards, Davide, to what bike you should get, I truly believe you have to buy the Harley Davidson. That's your dream bike. And a lot of the time, this is what I do. Monica often accuses me of this. I found something I really like, and I make excuses why I shouldn't buy it. thinking, no, come on, I can't get that. That has to come in the future, that dream purchase. And then Monica can sometimes say, but why? Why does it have to? You can go and buy it right now. And I think, no. No, that has to come in the future. I need to earn the right to be able to buy something like that. But it doesn't have to be like that at all. Davide, you want a Harley Davidson Sportster. The reality is they're only about £700 more expensive than these very good looking Japanese models. So this is your dream, Davide. Go out, buy it, realize your dream. You can do it. There's no reason why you can't go straight out after passing your test and get one of these. And I have found the exact one for you. It ticks every box. And I can imagine this is the exact bike that a powerlifting Italian in Scotland should be riding. Ready? Picture here. 2002. Oh, this is a lovely bike. Harley Davidson 883 Sportster. £100 under budget. £3,400. It's perfect. It's got that bare metal V-twin engine. It's even got a backrest, mini 8 bars. It's everything I think that you'll be looking for to realise the Harley Davidson dream. And if you don't buy it, Davide, what you'll do is you'll go out and you'll buy a bike that is almost what you're looking for. You'll buy one of the Japanese cruisers when you really want the Harley Davidson. And then all that will happen is you'll never love it as much as you love a Harley Davidson because your dream is to buy a Harley Davidson. So you'll sell that Japanese bike, probably make a loss on it, have to go through all the stress and hassle of selling it, only to then end up buying the Harley Davidson in the first place. Skip all of that, go out, create the realization of a dream. Davide, good luck. Moving on to Ceci in, I think this is the northeast. Yes, the East Coast of the US, Ceci. Hi Freddie, I finally took the plunge in April 2022 and I purchased my first bike. It was shipped from California to me on the East Coast and it's been almost 2 years and I have only done 13 miles on the clock. Wait, it gets better than that. Last October I purchased a Royal Enfield Classic 350 and I have 17 miles on it. I also had the local dealer deliver it to my doorstep. Long and short of it is that I look for any excuse not to ride. I'm sure it's out of fear and drivers here don't have patience for people on motorcycles. But what would you recommend to release this anxiety and to actually get on the road? Ceci, one of the best bits of wisdom I've ever heard, and I always remember this because I love it so much, with regards to fear. Fear is never an issue. The issue we have as humans is never with fear because almost everyone gets scared, gets nervous with different things, whether it be asking for a promotion, jumping on a motorbike, skydiving, setting up a business, X, Y, traveling, anything, we're all scared. The point is, it's not the fear, it's our relationship with fear. That's what we have to look at. How do we deal with fear? Do we let our fear get in the way of us actually realizing our dream, doing something we want to do? Or do we accept that we're going to be scared of something and it doesn't matter, just get on with it anyway? So I think you need to pack up the Classic 350, get a couple of panniers, find a point on the map in the US that you want to ride to, make it about a day and a half's ride, and then set a nice little circuit with that point in mind. So maybe a day and a half to get there, a day and a half to get back. Maybe head off camping. It's brilliant value and it feels like a proper adventure. And this is what I do if I go camping. It transforms the experience. Have Netflix on your phone, you'll probably be in an area with almost no signal, and download about 5 movies. So in the evenings, you're there, your bike's next to your tent, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're just pitch black, forest around you, just watching movies. It is one of the most magical experiences, and you can do it with friends or just do it solo. I promise you, Ceci, it's a magical experience. You will love it. And I think you'll feel even more connected with the Classic 350. I'd be fascinated to know though, let me know if you end up doing a trip and if it helps. How do you find it? Sassy, happy riding. On now to Australia. A first-class Italian service and a highly regarded Benelli. Should say Italian, maybe with a bit of Chinese thrown in there. This is from AD Motorcycles, 1955. Hello from Adelaide, Australia. Regarding, this is highly rated. This really had a lot of good feedback. The Benelli Tre-K that I mentioned in last week's episode, incredibly hard to find, never going to win reliability awards, probably a nightmare to find parts for, but I've heard from 3 different owners who say they were exquisite bikes, and it is the one bike they regret selling. And this is coming from people who've had 20 plus bikes. This from Australia. Hello from Adelaide. Regarding the Benelli Tre-K, I bought one brand new and I loved it. It was faultless over the 15,000 kilometers I put on her over 2 years. The buying experience was great also. This is great. This is a first-class service. You do not get this kind of service anymore. This was the beginning of the Chinese ownership of Benelli in 2014, and the importer was still establishing dealership networks in all of the states. This meant that I took advantage of the unique way these bikes were being able to get test driven if your state didn't have a dealership yet. So Benelli flew me out and collected me from the airport. I got a tour of the unique bikes on offer, for example, the Moto and the Confederate. I then went for a spirited ride and then lunch. No pressure to buy. They then dropped me back to the airport. I, of course, bought one and loved it. I loved its uniqueness, engine, handling, and great styling. I've got to say that is an unbelievable vote of confidence on their product from Benelli's Chinese owners, to actually fly people out to test their bikes. Now this is a big one. I loved reading this. Knowing something's worth. Before I start on this, it reminds me of a story I heard a couple of months ago. It's about a 3-year-old story. It's about a girl, a young lady who graduated from university, and her father gave her his old car, which was a Nissan Skyline. And he told her to go and sell this Skyline to a local garage. And she tried to sell it to a local garage, but she told her dad, they're only offering me $1,000 for the car. Then he said, okay, go and take it to that auction site. See how much they'll offer you for it. And she said, Dad, they'll only give me $1,000. Then the dad said to his daughter, now take it to that enthusiasts club and ask them how much they'll offer you for that old Nissan Skyline. She took it there and they offered her $100,000 because it's a rare car and it's highly desirable within the right circles. Now, I don't know if that story is true, but it's been doing the rounds a lot online recently, and I love the idea of it. If you don't have something that has a worth in a certain circle, it doesn't mean that it's worthless. It just means that you're marketing it and trying to sell it in the wrong place. This is the perfect example of that. So thank you so much all for sharing this input across the globe, genuinely across the globe here, all the way from Australia to South America, to North America, to Europe. Have a listen to this. I'm going to start with Bob. Freddie, I have seen, and this is with regards to, the Royal Enfield Interceptor and Continental 120th anniversary special editions, really limited run bikes. This is from Bob. Freddie, I've seen 2 GT and Interceptor 120 anniversary edition models for sale in dealerships in the UK for £24,000. Next, Beep for Brains 101. Freddie, I actually own both the Royal Enfield Interceptor and the GT Continental 120 anniversary models, numbered 57 of 60 and 58 of 60 here in Australia. There were only 60 available in Australia. I paid 14,500 Aussie dollars for the Continental and 13,500 Aussie dollars for for the Interceptor. I have added the YSS front and rear suspension upgrade to both bikes. Apparently, these bikes aren't worth anything in Australia, as I've been offered a miserable 7,000 Australian dollars. For each of them, do you know what that is in UK pounds equivalent? 3,600 British pounds. Sorry for the podcast, people listening, this is me being speechless. Carrying on, they both have 1,300 kilometres and look like they have never even been sat on. All I want is something near what they owe me. However, at the very low prices offered, it looks like I'll just have to keep them and start riding them without worrying about keeping the kilometres low. If anyone in Australia wants one, these are available at a very reasonable price. Shiny side up, mate. Hooroo. This is mind-blowing. So we've got what we've got for sale in a British forecourt for £24,000. We've got offers in Australia of £3,600. Now I'm going to move on to one more in the UK. This is from Mr. JPB. Freddie, having taken a look at the Continental GT650 and Interceptor 120th anniversary special editions, I found both of these for sale at Apple Yards in the UK, £15,000. So there's a £10,000 difference compared to the other place in the UK. I'll wrap it with one final one. This is the really interesting one here. This is from Marcelo in Brazil. Freddie, I was watching your Tuesday at Dobbs episode yesterday when you quoted the value of the Royal Enfield Special Edition of $19,000. This was a bike that sold at auction last year, 120th anniversary special, for $19,000. Not just for sale, it sold for that. This is in Brazil, continuing with Marcelo. I remembered at the same moment this pictured little beauty that's for sale here in the south of Brazil from a dealership for not very friendly value for us Brazilians, but in US dollars I can imagine it's a trifle considering the machine, for sale US dollars 7,800, and it comes with 3 months warranty. It is, as you can see in the post I attached, the Interceptor 650 with a mileage of 6,000 kilometres, and there were only 28 available in Brazil. If I hadn't just purchased my classic 350, I would certainly be thinking about getting into debt with this little beauty. Cheers from Brazil, Marcelo. So let's wrap this up here. Brazil, that's around, in pounds sterling, £6,900 sterling, give or take. So 6,000 to 7,000 in Brazil. UK 15 to 24,000 and Australia £3,600. These are all for exactly the same bikes. It's just different markets value them so gigantically differently. This really has blown my mind, this topic. Thank you so much all for sharing them, and it really demonstrates finding the worth of a vehicle. You have to market it in the right location, at the right area, because if you don't, then you won't realise its true potential. Moving on now to Australia again. Oh, and a dream garage. I had to show this one. Nigel, okay, before I give anything away. Hi Freddie, I'm originally from Meriden, England, and I've been living in Brisbane, Australia for the past 29 years, and now I'll put the pictures up. I'm currently the proud owner of 4 motorcycles. Speaking of the 4 bikes, the Husqvarna Svartpilen 701 that I mentioned last week, it is an amazing ride. It's light, fast, brakes well. Even taller riders like you and I can have fun in the twisties with it. As for why they stopped making the Husky 701, there are a couple of possible reasons. Firstly, it was expensive when it was released, and stock only sold once the price was reduced by $3,000 in Australia. Secondly, it may have failed to meet emissions standards. Nigel, let's take a look at these. Triumph T120, Moto Guzzi V85 TT, and the Svartpilen. So you've got the adventure biking sorted with one of the most beautiful looking adventure bikes that I've ever seen. You've got the old school charm, cruising, effortless power with the T120, which is one of the classiest bikes ever made. And in that two-tone blue and white, it looks phenomenal. And then you have the beast. That's got to be a good 70 kilos, this Husqvarna, lighter than the Bonneville T120. So there you've got the times when you just want to head out for an hour or two and really push a bike to the limit. You've got a Swede, an Italian and a Brit there. That is a stunningly good lineup of bikes. If I ever get to my dream garage level where I've got, let's say, a double garage, a triple garage, and I've got a flat screen TV there on the wall, I've got my Chesterfield sofa, I've got my little coffee machine, I've got lots of little bits of motorcycle memorabilia just lined up on the walls. I've got an old Turkish rug on the floor, and there I have my 3 bikes lined up, my dream bikes. These 3 would be very, very close to that. It excites me just thinking about it. Nigel, oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Right, bike of the week. This is not something that I usually do. I don't usually do new bikes, so bear with me here. From Ian. Freddie, the Norton 961 Commando. This is referring to the new Norton. This seems to be a good buy. Top spec rolling chassis. This is key, top quality control, and the price, even at a bit more than you pay for a Triumph Twin, is not a big worry. It's so beautiful and handles great. The fit and finish and the great excitement you get riding Commandos make it one of the nicest twins I've ever ridden. Once the word gets out on the new owner's care for quality control and customers being very impressed, there will be big demand and a shortage of new Commandos. The reviews of these new Commandos are very positive. Right, Ian, you have piqued my interest, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've been a fan of this bike for a while, and if all goes well, I should have a press bike as soon as I get back, or very shortly after I get back to the UK. So I've got my eye on these big time. Brand new at £17,165, i.e. it's not cheap. You can get a 1-year-old one, a bit like this one, or exactly this one, for £13,950. You can get a bike that looks identical, again the Norton Commando, a 2011 model, for £8,600. But I've got 2 bits of important insight here. Until the end of March, and this is not sponsored by the way, until the end of March, so that's just 4 days left, there is currently, if you order your bike right now before the end of March, a £2,024 saving on these bikes. That's a huge discount, meaning you're looking at about £15,000 for one of these Nortons, and that does start to bring it much, much closer to the likes of the Triumphs. Bear in mind, these are bikes made in the UK. I'm going to do one more bit of information here. If you're looking at one of these bikes, yes, you can get that big saving, but this is where things have changed for Norton, because they went through absolute turmoil when they came back around 13 years ago and they started bringing out these Norton Commandos, because they were atrociously badly managed. So you could look at a 2011 Norton Commando, it looks the same as the new one, but they were so badly managed, I think the owner, I'm sure he went to jail for running the company so badly and screwing over employees. I think that's what happened. Huge amounts of quality control issues. The bikes were not that reliable, despite the fact they look almost identical to today. Fast forward to 2020, an Indian company called TVS took over. They invested £100 million into Norton, and they're building, or have built, a state-of-the-art English factory where they'll be building all of the Nortons. It's a huge step for British biking, massive. It gives me the vibe of Aston Martin being built in Wales. You know, it just feels right. There's something about that. No one will say Aston Martin make the best cars, but there's something special about them. And I think Norton is going to be exactly the same. So if you can get a bike as new as you possibly can, you're going to be ironing out so many of those quality control issues. This is now a company that's properly run, and if what Ian's saying has even a tiny bit of truth to it, and I think he's bang on with this, by the way, I think these could turn out to be very special bikes. They're never going to be built in huge numbers, so you're always going to have that air of exclusivity. And getting a £2,000 discount on a brand new one, that's got to be tempting. And if you want to try and get an older one, you could look at about a £3,000 saving on a 1 to 1.5 year old Commando. So at those prices, you may as well just get a brand new one, because those quality control issues, I'm sure every single year that goes by, they're getting ironed out more and more. So pick up a brand new one, £2,000 discount. If I had the money, I'd love one. I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this week's episode. Have a brilliant week all, and I'll speak to you all in the next one.